Welcome to the Intern Whisperer Live, the show all about internships and how to survive them. This is Matt.
This is Abby.
This is Isabella.
Our hashtag for tonight's show is business. If you want to win a coloring page and an autograph box of crayons by our producer interns, please type the hashtag business below.
Hashtag business.
Share that
into
hashtag, people.
Facebook and Instagram. One of them.
Yes.
Okay, you need to finish that out in the notes. Okay, keep going.
Tonight, our show features Lee McCain, who's a professor of business at Valencia College. Reminder, listeners, you can call us live on the air. The phone number is 407-582-2906. You can also chat with us online through Intern Pursuit's Facebook live chat.
All right, guys, coming up this episode of The Intern Whisperer, we got teaching at Valencia College, what there is to learn about business, Lee's trip to Denmark and Sweden via Valencia College, hashtag what I learned stories, great leaders that inspire us, employer for change promotion, and motivational Monday topic.
Okay, so how can people find us? Our social plugs are Pivot Business Consulting. If you go to our Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you can find our show there and any of the social channels. You can find Intern Pursuit on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and coming soon, Google My Business. The Intern Pursuit game is on Facebook and Twitter. And you can listen to us live on mixlr.com/Valencia College Radio and follow the Intern Whisperer. And again, you can watch us live on Intern Pursuit on Facebook, and you can call us live on the air. And that rings in to us, people. We have tested this. 407-582-2906. And you can also chat with us live online through Intern Pursuit's Facebook chat.
All right, guys, we would like to take this opportunity to thank our first sponsor, Omnimodal. Omnimodal believes smart cities and public transit services are the backbone of equitable shared mobility today and into the future. Omnimodal works with smart cities to connect all commuters across modes of transportation to the mobility as a service marketplace. You can visit them at their website at omnimodal.io. I'm going to spell that out for you guys. That's OMNIMODAL. Thank you, Omnimodal, for sponsoring the Intern Whisperer Live. Sorry about that.
So tonight's guest is Professor Lee McCain, a professor of business at Valencia College East Campus. And I have had the pleasure of being able to work with Lee on the advisory board, the business advisory board here at Valencia College. My job has been to be an ambassador in the community. I absolutely love this college. I go back to Rollins College where I graduated from, and I tell people, oh my gosh, Valencia College, this is awesome. And so I tell Rollins to recruit from here. I tell Full Sail. So I'm always promoting Valencia. I love this school as much as Rollins. So welcome, Lee.
Well, thank you. And we really appreciate all your efforts in recruiting our students. We could always use more.
That is very true. One of the things that, now this is not in the show notes, but one of the things that we were talking about earlier today at Starter Studio is the value of having at least 3 internships, because people don't know. I was talking to Lillian about that. She's a board member at Starter Studio. And she had said, you know, people don't really know what they want to do. They don't know the industry. They want to test the job out. And I had said, you know, I did, and the guys have heard me say this, probably other people on the show, that for 2 years I spent some time as a financial analyst, a grants administrator and a financial analyst at the Nature Conservancy. I loved everything about that job except being the financial analyst side, and that was about, I want to say maybe like 50% of the job, because I was a trainer. I got to negotiate contracts. I got to do so many great things. But after 2 years, I went, this is not what I like to do. So I think the value of an internship is being able to try those things out. So what made you decide to be a professor? Because you have a history.
Yeah, I've been doing this now for about 15 years. I started at Seminole State as a full-time professor teaching business courses. But before that, when I was getting my MBA, one of my professors liked my platform skills, and he actually suggested that I try it. And I really had no interest in it because both of my parents were teachers.
Oh,
And
it was
Runs
in
in
your
the family.
blood.
yeah, and especially my mother was really pushing that, and she said, "You'd always be a great teacher." I said, "Ma, I really want to make some money." So I got into business, and I worked in sales and marketing for 25 years before I got into this thing. But that MBA professor really inspired me to go try the adjunct thing, and my first gig was at Florida Metropolitan University
Oh, I remember that.
teaching a business course there. Let's talk business, which was very loose. No textbook. It was just what the business news was of the day or the week, and that's how I got the
I think
the
that would be a
fever.
great class because I bet that
Yeah.
ties into your capstone class that you
Big
created.
time. Oh yeah, yeah. It's all current events and cases and analyzing problems and figuring out how to fix it. Yeah, and that's how I got started and did a lot of different gigs at the University of Phoenix and also at Seminole State and here at Valencia before Seminole hired me full time, and that was a long time ago. And after 3 years, I got a better offer here, and that's where I've been for 11 years
Wow.
now.
So you obviously like being a teacher.
Oh yeah, it's great. I do it for free, but don't tell anybody because I got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
You just said it and publicly now.
Yeah.
It's on the
It's
air.
like it recorded, yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
But the advantage to being, what I was saying to the guys earlier, I said, Valencia, the best thing about education is nobody thinks twice about you having a side gig because they already know that pay is an issue. They also have amazing benefits in schools. Plus, you get to have some downtime because there's Friday summer hours.
Oh yeah.
And then
It's
you
great.
guys close down pretty much from like
Yeah.
middle of December to first week of January.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I really
Travel
enjoy
abroad.
it. Yeah, yeah. It's a really good gig.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I love being a teacher too. Yeah, I'm not right now. I teach clients and then I also teach, in this case, students that are interns with me. But for sure. So take it over, guys.
So what do you specifically love about teaching?
I like the fact that I can give back the experience that I have as a professional,
Right.
and tell them what the real world is about. You know, talk a little theory, but
Yeah.
really what works out there in the real world. And there's two big things that I always emphasize, and that's accountability and responsibility. And
Yeah.
if they can provide that to their employer, they will go a very long way. And sometimes it's a challenge with some of our students,
Right.
that accountability
Right.
and responsibility thing.
Okay. And following that line of thought, what do you think students that are pursuing business should know?
Well, that's a really big question. There's a lot to it. What specifically did you have in mind?
Well, maybe it's something that you think it's pivotal that they should know.
Like if they're
Going
thinking
into,
about going into the business
like
industry,
Yeah.
what should
tip,
they know?
Any particular tips, any pointers that you would give
Yeah,
to students?
it's a really good question, Abby. I think just like any other profession, you really have to be focused, and you have to be reliable, and you have to have really strong communication skills.
Extremely.
I bet.
Yeah, and that includes the spoken word, but it's also very important that you know how to write for business and proper business writing, because business is not a series of tweets or a series of emojis,
Right.
right? And
Hashtags.
proper punctuation, spelling,
there is a
grammar is
structure
very,
to it.
very, very important, because that lends to your credibility. If you can't get that right, the little things, a lot of businesses will not have any use for you because you can't get the little things right.
And I think that you hit on something that was really key. I think reliability. That's not necessarily something that always people see. The value of an internship, it's really, this is a chance to really show this is a real job, so take it seriously and decide, do you want to get like 5 stars? This is what I say to all of them. You know, you want to know, do you want 5 out of me or do you just want to be a 3? 3 is average. So 3 just shows up and just does the basics.
Right.
But 5 is the one that has been taking something off my shoulders. And this is what they hear me say, and they
Yeah.
go, that's the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it. That's what I always tell my students. Bring it.
So, what do you think well, aside from reliability and also good communication, what other skills do you think are really valuable for, I'm sorry, I think I keep hitting you there, it's delayed, for students to have in the business world? Because I would say the ability to work in teams, I'm a big fan of team dynamics. This is why I partner them up, and some leadership skills.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, in fact, in our business classes, we break them up into small groups so they can collaborate and figure out how to fix a problem. First of all, identify a problem, and then put together their own ideas and fix it. Because that's what we do in business today. And it used to be the CEO or the manager or the leader of that particular group was the one who made all the decisions. Now it's more democratic, especially with more educated workforce.
I agree.
And as a result, you got to be able to provide some information that's worthwhile, that's going to help with a solution. And be proactive about it, not reactive. Let's be a 5, not a 3.
Yeah. I think that there's been a heavy focus, because I work in that HR space, a heavy focus on employee experience. And I think that business is now seeing that, I absolutely believe, that your staff is part of your marketing, and they represent your company, and they are creating that user experience. So having a focus on employee experience, letting there be a place where they can stretch their wings, their voice is heard, there's some type of a trajectory where they can actually get trained and some type of upward mobility. What is that? Because maybe even in small business, because I work with a lot of small businesses, there might be just one position above, a coordinator and then like a manager. And that's just 2 positions. But there are places, I think, and I believe, where in business employers can empower the employee so that they are being able to be seen as a leader of either a project. And it's not always just about the title, it's usually about the sense of purpose, it's being fulfilled, that they feel, again, that there's value, and they're able to pass that on.
Yeah, no question. That's a lot of things that we talk about in our business classes, especially in our management class. We talk about the ability to lead, the ability to get people to follow you voluntarily, as opposed
It sounds
to
like
being
a
a
lot
manager.
of business skills that you could apply to a lot of different jobs. Like
Very
these are
much so.
very keystone universal skills. Like I know someone in engineering who isn't a leader, who was just put on a lead as a project, and he has to have all those skills, obviously, that you just mentioned.
The soft skills are transferable to any industry and to any job, honestly, because the hard skills are the things that you're there to learn. So I don't know Adobe Creative Suite. I can learn it, or I don't know how to program. Maybe I could learn it if I wanted to. Maybe. I'm pretty sure I could. But it's the ability to take those skills and then be able to be more of who you are and really rise and grow. I think, I don't know about you, but do you think, Leah, it takes a good 5 years to learn an industry? That's usually what I tell students.
It depends on the industry. If it's
'Cause it's moving so
technology,
fast.
I can see that. If it's something that's not as technical, I think you can probably do it in about 3.
I don't know, because there's technology is changing with so fast with how we're doing it. So I'll use graphic design. Now, I would think graphic design would be something that it's a 2-year degree traditionally. And to get experience in graphic design, they're taught here to do a lot of print and also to work on web. But being able to understand how to use it, what colors work in digital presence versus print, night and day. And you were in marketing, so I'm sure you understand what I'm saying there. The amount of platforms that we have to now know has greatly expanded. And so I feel like they might start with Adobe Creative Suite, but it changes because there's going to be some other new way of learning.
It was something else before, so it'll probably be something else in the future. How tech reliant is the business industry?
It's key. I mean, it's the cornerstone of business. You got to stay ahead of it if you're going to be competitive. That's really the key.
I drive by the Orlando Sentinel newspaper, and I see that gigantic building, and I go, what are they doing? But I'm thinking, I'm sure they still have reporters, but their focus is on everything that's on the web.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's not print.
Yep. Well,
So-
that's the way newspapers are going. It's more of an online presence rather
yeah.
than a physical print job.
And I'm noticing there's barely any newspaper sites you can go on, and you have a limited number of articles you can read before you
OBJ.
have to subscribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And like all of them are going to that model now because that's the only way they can sustain
Yeah.
themselves.
Well, Wall Street Journal, I think New York Times.
Even Orlando Sentinel is
Oh,
doing it.
Orlando
Yeah.
Sentinel. It's nothing like what it was before, but
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal and New York Times, I think those are.
The Post, Washington Post, LA Times,
I
Miami
don't know
Herald.
what they look like in
Yeah.
comparison to 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're very different.
Oh, big time. Well, the Sentinel, I mean, they've laid
Yeah.
off most of their columnists as a result of the lack of advertising because the readership is way down at the Sentinel. And that's the reason why it's really not as good as it used to be.
Right.
And they've increased their online presence.
But I'd say just 10
Yeah.
years ago, newspapers were still really prevalent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're still going to be prevalent, but I
Yeah,
think
but-
most people your age are preferring to get their news in other ways than a physical print
Yeah.
Video.
Well,
print media.
I'm
in
just
this
speaking from
case. Yeah.
experience, but I know my dad, he doesn't read the newspaper anymore.
Yeah.
Like he just uses his news app on his phone.
Right.
And he used to be a newspaper reader Sunday morning with his coffee.
Yeah. I still am every day. Wall Street Journal. That's my go-to.
Do they give it away for free at this school?
We have it available, the online version, but I pay
Really?
for
Oh.
my own subscription because
Yeah. I
you
know
I'm
some
the
schools.
breakfast guy. I got to read at breakfast.
See, I just
Yeah.
have my phone with my coffee in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like
I'm not
to
that
hold
good,
the paper.
Matt. I got to have paper.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
think that the tactile, the more of your senses that you use, the more.
I mean, it goes. I prefer to read on a physical copy. It goes the same with a newspaper, but I find it so much easier to access news through my phone.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it sends you
Yeah.
the notification
Yeah.
of the news that you're interested about, and
Yeah,
just open
yeah.
it. It's
Like
Yeah.
for like books and stuff, that I definitely prefer a tactile paper experience. But for news, I see the appeal in the digital.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. So, Abby, what's the next question?
all right. Tell us where'd you go to school, or
Where did he go
where
to school?
did you go to
Yeah,
school?
I went to Lemoyne College in Syracuse, New York. It's a Jesuit college, like Boston College, Georgetown University.
Oh, okay.
And, proud Dolphin of Lemoyne College.
Oh, my goodness. There's
Yeah.
more dolphins.
Yeah.
More
That's so funny.
Yeah.
In New York.
In central New York, a dolphin. You imagine that?
Yeah.
We haven't seen a dolphin ever in central New York.
Does it look like the Miami dolphin?
Actually, it does. Exactly
It
like
look-
the dolphin.
Really?
Except it's different colors. Ours is golden green. Forest green.
Well, my
and
dad's a
golden.
different dolphin.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And then you went where for your MBA?
I got my MBA at Kelley Graduate School here in Orlando.
Okay, so a
Yeah.
little shout out to both of those
Yeah.
schools. It's always nice to hear other institutions appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And are you anticipating a PhD, or are you done with going to school?
Well, I've got more than an MBA. I've got about 12 more hours than I needed in accounting. But I don't know.
That sounds like
we'll
a
have to take a look.
certification.
We'll have to look. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We'll have to take a look at that down the road. Probably, if I was going to pursue it, it'd be a DBA,
Oh,
a
okay.
doctorate in business administration.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do the professors here? I know that you can be tenured. I'm assuming you are.
I am. Mm-hmm.
Do you have to publish? Is that a requirement?
No, what we have to do is go through a very organized and rigorous tenure process. And it's now a 5-year process, but when I was here, when I first started, it was 3 years. And we have to write a portfolio. We have to do action research with our students to look at learning outcomes, to see if they can be improved by doing a benchmark as an example, and then seeing after a benchmark how they've improved over time.
We've talked about that in the advisory board.
Right, right. And that was actually part of my portfolio, was that benchmark, and then seeing the progress or regress depending on how they write. Because communication skills are everything.
Yeah,
And
I
if you
agree.
can't get that right, then they're probably not going to want to hire you.
That is true
Yeah.
because I've talked to students also, not any of these students that are in the room here, but I have talked with other students and said when I was teaching middle school,
Yeah.
and I was teaching in the projects, and some of those, most of those students all had an urban slang.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say, well, you're just wanting me to talk, I'm going to say it white. And I said, no, I want you to sound like you're professional, that you're educated. This has nothing to do with race. And I said, I think that's the biggest takeaway that you need to understand is that people, right or wrong, they will judge you. And if you want them to hear what your race is when you talk, then keep doing that.
Right.
You know, and that was something that for 7th graders, they told me it actually impacted them.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So, but, you know, they had a great deal of trust in what I was saying, so they knew I was telling them something straight up that they needed to hear.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
Right.
think communication is everything.
Yeah.
Sure is.
So, after school, I'm assuming you went into the business industry. What was that like?
Well, my first job was a copywriter in an advertising agency in Syracuse, and I got that job simply because I had a portfolio of writing. I was a sports editor of the school newspaper for a couple of years, and I was also a disc jockey on the radio show, and my own radio show, and
What
played
was it
oldies.
called?
It was called the Hound Dog Program. I did a takeoff of Wolfman Jack, but I can't do it anymore because I'm too old.
You mean
I
like,
love the name, though.
"Ooh."
Well, no, actually his voice. I
Oh.
replicated his voice. You guys remember? You probably don't.
I don't
Wolfman
think they
Jack.
know. They're looking at each
No.
other. The answer's
He's
no.
in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was unbelievable. Yeah.
I'll have to do my research.
Yeah, go look him
He
up.
was fantastic.
And put that in the hashtags too.
Yeah.
Wolfman Jack.
Yeah, Wolfman Jack.
Jack.
American
Wolfman Jack.
Graffiti. He was in American
Oh, I know
Graffiti.
that movie.
I've,
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Yeah, if you
Wolfman
say a
Jack.
movie, they
Yeah,
know
we'll,
that.
Oh, yeah,
we'll
that's
respond
our-
to movie references.
Yeah.
That's our area of expertise.
Yeah, yeah. He played the DJ in American Graffiti.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know who
that's
that
Wolfman
is?
Jack.
Well, I've
The
seen
beard.
the movie. Yeah.
I haven't seen the
Yeah,
movie. I just
popsicle.
know.
You want a
Long time
popsicle? Here, have a popsicle.
Yeah, yeah.
Refrigerator broke. You remember that line?
Right, that does ring a bell. I saw it long ago, but I know the movie.
Well, it was 1972.
Yeah.
Was when that came out. So yeah.
It's
That was-
directed by the guy who created Star Wars.
Yeah,
Fun
George
fact.
Lucas
Exactly
before
right.
Star Wars.
Yeah, way before Star Wars.
Yep.
Yep. That was one of his first big productions. They did
He
back
really
in the
only
day.
directed like 2 movies and then Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then nothing else.
Yeah.
because that's
American
all he did.
Graffiti was
That's all
big,
he needed.
Big in 1972. It was a blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
Back then. Yep.
He actually didn't want to work with Harrison Ford again because he's like, I just worked with him, but he was just too good.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, Harrison Ford was in American Graffiti.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So he's like, well, I don't want him to play Han Solo. I just worked with him in American
Right,
Graffiti, but then
right.
in the auditions,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to go back and go watch that movie now.
That's a great movie.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
I saw it pretty young, but I have really good memories of it.
Oh,
I remember
sure.
enjoying it, even at a very young age.
Yeah. Yeah, so my portfolio, because of what I wrote, and also as an intern in the development office, I want to mention to you that one of the things that got me really interested in writing was my stat professor was a guy by the name of Harold Graham, and Harold Graham was the very first person in the United States to ride a rocket belt, and he did it when he was a member of the U.S. Air Force, and he was the very first person ever to do this. You can look it up online.
a rocket belt.
What
A
is a
rocket
rocket
belt.
belt?
It's
I
a
don't know.
self-propelled rocket on your back.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
And this is the way they thought back in 1961 that astronauts were able to get around. This was a new transportation device that the Army could use. And it was demonstrated actually right in front of President Kennedy in 1961. And he was the guy. And
Didn't
so
that,
when
like,
I found
burn their
that out,
butt or their legs.
well, if you look at the video, no, it's actually a pretty efficient machine. It looked,
I know what
really
they look
That's probably what
1961.
inspired Kennedy to say those things about going to the moon. Was things
It
like
could
that.
have, yeah. It was
Yeah.
A big precursor to the Gemini.
I just saw that
program.
Neil Armstrong movie, so
Right.
it's on my mind. Yeah.
Right.
It was-
Yeah, this guy was my stat professor, and
Who
and
else?
I heard about him, so I wanted to interview him, and then I wrote a story about it, and it got me inspired about writing. So, yeah, he's a fascinating guy
I
and
bet.
really funny. Oh, and he
Very
also
interesting.
appeared on What's My Line.
Oh.
I'm sorry, To Tell the Truth. He was on To Tell the Truth on TV.
Do you guys know that show?
To Tell the Truth. Yeah, you can look that up too. You can look up Harold Graham on To Tell the Truth. That was a
Harold
big
Graham.
program, daytime program back in the day. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us about what it was like when you were an intern.
Right.
What was that like?
Well, there was a lot of work, and I didn't get any credit for it. Back then, Lemoyne didn't offer credit, so I was doing this all on my own.
How many hours do
Writing.
you remember? Was it like part-time or a full-time job?
It was part-time.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote several articles. I can't remember how many, but I was really busy with the newspaper because we had to publish every week. So I remember writing content during the week and then putting the paper together physically on
Yeah.
Thursday night to have it available Friday morning. And we worked till 3:00 in the morning every Thursday night
Oh, wow.
to get it out.
Wow.
So you said that you weren't credited. Did they ever publish your article like exactly the way it was?
Yeah, actually they did. In
And whose
the
name
Heights
was it?
magazine. And my name.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was your name.
Oh,
then.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I thought you said you didn't get any credit.
Yeah.
You did
No, I
not.
didn't get any course credit.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Course credit. But yeah, I was
The byline,
bylined.
your name
I got
was there.
bylined. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, that's huge.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's how you got the job.
Yeah,
because
it
you
was
could
a
put that in
gas.
your
Yeah,
portfolio.
it was a lot of
and-
fun. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting. But you
Yeah.
were not an English major. You're
No,
not
I
a
was a business
journalism.
major.
So you just really worked on refining
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm a big sports fan too, so
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I want to do sports. Write sports.
Got it.
Yeah.
Are your articles still out there? Have you ever Googled them to see if they're still?
Gee, I don't know. I've got all my old newspapers, but they're awfully yellow now.
Look and type his name in, guys, and just see if you can find any. Do the ampersand and news articles and see what pops up real quick.
The Dolphin is the name of the publication. The Dolphin or the Piper, because we had two different names.
That's the school paper.
Yeah.
Oh,
The Dolphin or the Piper, Piper. Yeah.
I tried Dolphin.
did you find anything?
No.
Not on the initial
So
searches,
that-
at least.
That's
It
kind
all
of interesting.
focuses on
Yeah.
things from 2018.
Yeah, very modern stuff.
So they apparently have not gone and digitized that content and put it up there. But I guess you could always put it up. Do you do LinkedIn? Do you use that?
I have LinkedIn, but I don't really consult it very often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be like if you want to be immortalized, throw your articles up there on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
because That's where they will live in perpetuity.
How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Won't get any more yellow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. They'll be digital.
It'll be digital.
Yeah.
Do you have a website also, your own
I do not.
professor website?
No.
I know some of
No.
the schools require that because that would be a good place. But
Yeah.
I publish on a blog page on my company site
Okay.
on Pivot. But I also will take those articles and I'll put some of them on my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how much traffic it drives to your just your LinkedIn site. And people read them. And,
Wow.
I haven't written in a while, so I need to get back into my writing. But people might be enjoying to hear your voice of, like your written voice, what it
Yeah.
was like to write then and what's it like now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I might try that.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so aside from it being, you did get to write and you had to put in those hours, did you feel like you were respected as an intern or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were. The development office at the school was very respectful of us.
So it was for the
that's good.
school.
Yeah, it was for the school actually.
Yeah.
So I was working with that department and
Yeah.
actually helping them do their job.
Right. And I think on the campuses, many times, most of the schools I've talked to, they don't offer a paid internship, but they do make sure that the student has like real tangible skills that are on the
Right.
resume. I think that's the key. Did you ever do an internship off of the school, away from the school? Not all.
I did not. No.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the difference is that the appreciation in education, tons of appreciation, right?
Oh, definitely.
Very focused on that, but outside of the ivory walls, it's a different world.
Boy, that it is.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah, and that's really where internships turn into either a joyful experience or one that is, heavy tears. Okay, so what do you think? I know I'm taking away the questions. Okay, guys, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self in college now, if looking back?
Or better yet, is that any different from what you tell your students now?
Ooh, that's a interesting.
Yeah,
That,
could-
that is an
interesting
interesting question. You know, when I was 20, and that was a long time ago, the world was very different. There was no internet. There was no personal computers. We had AM radio. FM was just becoming popular. Color television was fairly new at that time. We had 4 channels to watch on TV.
Okay, what do you guys
And-
think of that when he's telling you
and-
that?
Yeah, so
I mean, that's basically
Yeah.
my parents' age. So
Your parents?
yeah,
I would think your
it was the
grandparents.
4 channels.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Puerto Rico, and most of my family was very poor,
Yeah.
like my very old family, and most of them didn't have a TV growing up.
Yeah.
During that time, my grandmother, she's not too old. She's almost 60. She tells me stories about how it was back then. It's very different, indeed.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
my
yeah,
dad had
no
a
question.
similar upbringing. The 4 channels, color was new, but his dad always was in control of what they watched.
Oh yeah,
A lot of the who was the guy who did the music show every night?
Lawrence Welk?
Lawrence Welk. Yes,
That's still on. It's on.
It is.
Yes.
Yep, yes it is.
my dad has a lot of memories of his dad forcing
sure.
him to watch Lawrence Welk.
Sure.
I have never. I don't think I've ever watched a whole episode. I've seen it done.
I've seen
parodies
clips
of
of
on
it just so
Saturday
I could
Night
understand the
Live.
Saturday Night Live
Yeah.
parodies of it. My
Yeah.
dad's like, you have to see what my dad forced me to watch as a child and what I don't subject you to.
I don't understand why that show is like so classic and it's still on. There's other shows I remember my parents watching MASH.
Oh
you
sure.
know,
Oh, yeah.
Like some of those.
I know all
and those are different, but the black
Well,
and
we
white
know that 'cause
shows.
it's a movie.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
know my grandmother had Danny Thomas.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That was late 50s, early 60s. Danny
Yeah.
Thomas show. Yeah.
yeah. Those were shows that they liked.
Oh sure.
Anyway, we digress. I don't know if
Yeah.
we actually answered the question though. We went down memory and nostalgia.
Explain what it
lane.
was
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So we need to get back on point
Yeah.
with the question.
Would you-
So go back to your question.
Yeah.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self going through college now, and how would that be different from what you tell a current college student going through the same
Well, one of the
business?
things about college, it's not high school, and a lot of it is on you in
Yes.
terms of what you're going to accomplish. So, having good time management skills, persist through some of the anthills that are in the way, and some of them are pretty big, but persist and reach your goal
Yeah.
or goals, and make sure that's on a time frame as opposed to, well, I want to get my degree, but when? The key is
Yeah.
the when, and that will help you persist to get to that ultimate goal of the when. And I was like that in college. All the degrees that I received was all within the quote unquote time frame that was expected. And I think students today get a little sidetracked with that, and it takes them, on average, here in Florida, 5 years for a 2-year degree. That's the average.
Wow.
No kidding.
5 years for a 2-year degree. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen that happen from graphic design, but I do know some of those students have come back and told me, oh, this is like year 4. And it's a 2-year program.
Right.
I did
Well,
5
what-
years for 4 years just because I had to change majors.
I
And
don't
things
know.
didn't transfer over right from schools. And
Right. And life gets in the way.
And
too. I
life
mean, you
gets-
have
yeah.
1 or 2 jobs, you have children, health issues, whatever
Yeah.
the case may be, and that's the reason why it takes them, on average, 5 years to complete a 2-year degree. And that's
Wow.
just not Valencia. It's the average.
I would,
in the state.
I'm sure you're right. I have trouble relating to it though because I went to school full time, and I also worked a full time job. So my weekends were like that was it, and
Yeah.
I was married at that time too. So it's like
Yeah.
I had no
Wow.
life, but
But you got it done.
I finished in I finished in the 4 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as
first
did I,
2 were
yeah.
University of Florida. The last 2 I transferred to Rollins, and I finished in 2 years.
Good for you. Yeah. I was working too. I mean, I had 2 or 3 nights as a disco DJ
This is so funny.
when I was in college. that was a blast. I love that.
See, you might want
Yeah.
to come back here and have a show.
I like that.
This is kind of like your return.
Yeah,
Right.
I like
We're
that.
going to
'Cause I
introduce
have
you
my-
to Q. Well, you already did.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you want to do a show, you should talk to
I
Q.
could do an oldies show because
Yeah.
I know I'm a
Wolfman
trivia
Jack.
guy.
I listened
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all the old records. I got 45s. I got 33 and a thirds. And
do you see
discs.
there's none of that in
I
here,
see
though?
that.
So you'd be playing it off of your phone.
Right. Well, I got everything I need right on my phone.
There
for
you
sure.
go. So, okay, what's up?
So, who are some of your great leaders, personal, professional, living, or dead, that you admire or who have influenced your life?
Well, I think my dad and my mom, actually. My dad was a longtime college professor at Lemoyne. He was a physics professor. And I had no desire to teach, and I had no desire to be a scientist, unlike both of my brothers are scientists.
Oh.
But he was an inspiration as a leader because he was such a great guy. He was probably the nicest guy I've ever met in my life.
Wow. That's-
And he, for me and for my siblings, I have two brothers and a sister. We all kind of followed his lead as far as treating people correctly and being good to people. And
Yeah,
being
that's not something
respectful
to
of others.
underestimate.
Yeah, yeah. So I really, I credit him for that, and he was a marvelous guy. Everybody loved Charlie McCain.
So where does
Yeah.
your mom fit in? Because you mentioned your mom.
Yeah, she was a teacher as well, and she was a disciplinarian. So we learned discipline, we learned rigor, we learned organization from her, and I think that influenced my life.
What did she teach?
She was just like you. She taught actually grammar school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she
Well, I
was
didn't teach grammar school. It was middle and high school. But
middle
she
and
was-
high school. Yeah, she did K through. Trying to remember. I
I'm
think it
guessing
was
you're
first or
Catholic?
second. I am.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would go, that's really where she maybe taught in the Catholic school?
Actually, public schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
She taught in the
grammar
public school
school
system. Yep.
Up there in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Was it K through 8?
K through 8.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
I
I
think
think she was
Florida's the
second or
only one.
third grade, if I remember right. Sometimes fourth.
Yeah.
But almost her whole career in teaching was in public
I
schools.
took one semester in elementary education, and I went, I don't want to do this. I was thinking I was going to do the K through 12 route,
Yeah.
and I sat there and went, I do not want to cut all of this stuff, because they had elementary school teachers, primary. They have to go decorate the walls every month, and they were always having to
Yeah.
cut stuff out
Yeah.
and have the numbers
Construction
up there.
paper, yeah.
And I went,
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
no way. I'm not doing
yeah.
this.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah, and it was expensive to buy that stuff.
Oh,
too.
yeah. You bet.
Wow, your mom was amazing.
Yep.
That was a
She
hard job.
was. Yeah. Yeah.
Did they have classrooms where it was like multi-level learning where all of the kids were together, or were they broken into real grade levels like K?
Grade levels, the old-fashioned grade levels, yeah.
Okay.
And they
Not
stayed
like
with a
Little House
teacher
on the
every
Prairie.
day. Well, that was a one-room schoolhouse, if I remember
Yeah.
right. But yeah, they had a school that had several different classrooms and grade levels. So,
Mhm. I was born
that's
in
what you-
Kansas, so
oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, I didn't go to schools like that, but nonetheless, I was from little towns that they actually had that. We
Yeah.
moved to Wichita, and it was more of the standard K1, 2.
Right.
But
Right.
could have been in there.
Yeah, that's the way it was in Syracuse too. Yeah.
Really
Oh yeah,
sounded like Syracuse. I thought it was a big city.
yeah. Oh no, no. When I was there, it was 200,000 in the metropolitan area, and it's
That still
less than
sounds
that
like a
now.
lot of people.
Yeah.
I came from a town. I was born in a little town that had 1,000 people, and it still has 1,000
Oh
people.
my, no
That's
kidding.
tiny.
Wow.
It's called
I guess
Medicine
so.
Lodge. It's a historic Indian site where they did a reenactment every 4 years, leap year, of the signing of a peace treaty between the 5 tribes from the Trail of Tears and
Yeah.
the white settlers
How about that?
in a giant dust bowl. They still do it.
How about that?
1,000 people, one light, truly.
Wow.
Traffic light. That's
Wow.
it. Anyway,
Right.
going back.
So,
So we
Right,
saved
and-
a really good question, though. Let's hear
All
about
right.
his Denmark and Sweden.
Right. So in 2011, it says here that you got the opportunity to take some students to Denmark and Sweden on a
Yeah.
trip, I guess.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what was it like for the students?
Well, we did it in 2 years. I did it twice, 2011 and 2012. And we were teaching them event management. So they had to develop their own event, they had to market their own event, and they had to conduct their own event. And we were there for 2 weeks, and we gave them the basics. They get started the first week, and we gave them another week to put together their exhibit. And then we took them downtown Copenhagen and had them market it to the passersby.
Oh my gosh.
Did they have to
that's
do it in a
Copenhagen.
whole other language?
Actually, the Danes' English is as good as ours,
Oh,
with
yeah.
little
Oh.
or no accent. It's amazing. They sound American.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no
Those
idea.
people in that European area, they speak 5 languages. Like I've been
Yeah.
to Switzerland, and in Switzerland
Yeah.
it was German, English, French, Swiss, and Liechtenstein, I think.
I have a French friend who speaks 4 languages
I
just
know. Oh, wow.
casually. She
It's
just-
shameful in our country.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know it.
One language.
Well, I can speak too. So.
I know you're at an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah,
Proficient?
very much so.
Are you proficient in both?
Yes, I
Spanish?
am. Yeah.
Very good.
Terrific.
I have
I'm
to.
jealous.
Yeah.
I am too. I should.
Yeah.
I should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both actually from Hispanic
Oh, terrific.
backgrounds.
But
yeah.
I grew up with my dad always speaking English, so my mom always spoke English
Okay.
too. But I learned basic words, especially
Right.
around my grandmother. But
Yeah, for me is that I was born in Massachusetts, lived there until I was just a kid, and then moved to Puerto Rico. And my mom never let me forget my English. We would speak both English and Spanish in
Wow.
our household all the time. And then I would have to speak Spanish in school. So it was Spanish at school, and then I would go home and we would
Yeah.
speak English. And
Ah.
most of my family is from the States, so
Cool.
I managed to keep both languages at a very good level.
They were balanced.
Yeah.
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 I want to go back
Excellent.
to what was the best product that was sold over there that they had that you remember, if you remember one.
Well, a lot of it was
most
based on the
innovative or-
environment.
Yeah.
You know, I remember one display that the students came up with, a creative way to dispose of waste. And I'm talking about paper and plastic
Right.
and things
Trash.
along those lines. Trash, yeah. And boy, it got a lot of attention from the passersby. And
Really?
the students that we brought were not only Valencia students, we also had 2 other schools in the United States that came, along with the host school called the
Okay.
Roskilde School of Business in Roskilde, Denmark, which, by the way, a little trivia, is the headquarters of the Vikings. Came from Roskilde, Denmark, way back in the day. As well as a team from Singapore. So we had a very cross-cultural blend of students that had to get together. And we put them together so that it wasn't all Americans on one and all Singaporeans on
Right.
the other one and all Danes on another. We mixed them. So we had different emotional levels. We had also different intelligence levels. And it was a challenge for them to form, norm, and perform, and storm, of course.
That's right.
Right? And they all nailed it. And we were very proud of that. They worked really diligently. And they all got along and became fast friends. It was
That
kinda
sounds like
cool.
something that is it still going on?
I'm not doing that now, but the organization that's doing it, I believe, is still doing it, but I don't know whether it's doing it with Valencia.
I think it was like 2 years ago. I came in on West Campus, and there were some students from, I think it was Norway, I think Denmark maybe.
Yeah.
But they came over and they did a case study of Pivot. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I enjoyed it
Neat.
thoroughly. And they were here for 2 weeks.
Wow. Very good.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe they're still doing something
Yeah.
like that here.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to the quote.
all right, our motivational Monday quote. This is from Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn.
I love that one. So educationally, what does that speak to?
That speaks to everything that
You
I
learn
do.
in those classes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I try to engage the students and get them to experience learning by
Experiential learning.
by teaching each other, with videos, and have them break up and answer teams so they can answer some questions that were posed in the videos, a lot of them are cases that they have to figure out what the problem is and how to solve it. And certainly they have to write papers and they have to present the papers sometimes. It depends on the class, but we have presentations that they have to
You have a capstone
impress.
class.
Yes, and the capstone class is all cases, all case study analyses. And they also have to present as well, because that's all part of the program learning outcomes that we have, that they've got to be able to prove all aspects of what we've taught them before they can go ahead and get their associate's degree and move on to the next level, whether it's going to school again to get a 4-year degree or go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing that even, what is that, over 300 years ago, that was still, he was thinking experiential learning was the most valuable.
It is. In
Yeah.
our education classes, I'm sure you've heard this. I mean, the more of your senses that you're using, the more the real learning takes place.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
And there's people that are visual learners and audible learners.
And
so-
kinetic, that's the hands-on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So the more of that you incorporate in the repetition of being able to go through those exercises, it makes a huge difference.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good quote. Good
Thank you.
job. So some other things real quick. I know we're getting close to the end of our time frame, but next week for our listeners, I will be in Portugal. I am going to Lisbon, and I will be attending Web Summit. So I am going to record my experience on the floor, since we're talking about experiential learning. I will have a booth there at Web Summit, the Intern Pursuit booth, and I will have T-shirts to give away and pens, and there's over 70,000 people that are attending this summit. So I am so excited. We'll not have a traditional show, so I'm going to record on the floor, and I'm going to send the files to these guys here, and Khalil and Jason, and have them share that experience with all of our listeners. So I hope you guys enjoy
I
while I'm
think
there.
that'll be really exciting.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm going to try and make sure it's like in the space, but it's like everything that I'm doing Tuesday. My day to be on the floor is Tuesday, and they give me my own booth and all kinds of stuff. So super excited.
Yeah.
Our hashtag what I learned. So please go to our Instagram page and go check out the stories. So today I'm going to be taking a picture of Abby and one of also Matt, and then you're going to get to read their What I Learned stories out there on our social feeds here, what
All
they've
right.
learned.
And now we'd like to thank our second sponsor of the night, Create the Movement. Creating a movement takes two things, the right people and the right message. Finding the right people takes laser focus and extensive research. Crafting the right message requires in-depth market knowledge and constant tweaking. It's not about thinking outside the box, it's about knowing what your box is made of and using it to your advantage. Thank you, CreateTheMovement.com, for sponsoring the Intern Whisperer Live.
So I want to tell Valencia College East Campus, thank you, Q. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He's our station manager for letting us be in this really great studio, state-of-the-art social broadcasting studio, atmosphere. We love Q. He's our knowledgeable staff member, along with others in his office. And I want to thank also Matt and Abby over here. So we're going to move over to our shout-outs. Abby, you're up.
Well,
Who's
it's
your
always-
shout-out to?
Always a quick shout out to my friends and my family
I think to your grandma.
and my grandmother, who just
Yeah.
she tuned in tonight too. So
Yeah,
thank
she's
you,
been
Grandma.
following our show.
Yeah, she has.
Very
Thank you, Grandma.
good.
And also a quick, sorry to end it on kind of a downer, but today I found out that a classmate from back in the day passed away. So
Aw.
quick shout out to his family, and
Oh.
may he rest in peace.
Yeah, and the family too. May they
Yeah.
have peace.
Yep.
Okay,
Oh.
you're up.
I don't have anyone specific, so I'm going to go to my go-to and say, thank you, Mom and Dad.
Very nice.
Where would we be without our parents?
Where would
I'm
we
going
be?
to tell you, you'd be like
Here.
a sorry mess. I was thinking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
I watched some show and I was going, I really miss my mom. My mom's not alive. I miss my mom. Okay, Lee, who do you want to give a shout out to? It can
My,
be any.
my lovely bride, Monica,
Very nice.
and my extended family all over the world, including my sister in Abu Dhabi,
do you
United
have
Arab
children?
Emirates. I do not. no.
Okay.
Your sister's in Abu Dhabi, though?
She is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all of your
Yeah.
students are your children.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
identify.
would say.
I totally
Yeah.
identify. Yeah. And so my shout out goes to these two guys for making it so much fun here. I love that they do the research. I want to also give a shout out to you, to Valencia College, to Q, and all of the software team that has been just pushing really hard, and the marketing team. Many of them are students that are working with me also. So
Terrific.
very cool. And again, people can find us on Intern Pursuit's Facebook page, Twitter. Listen to us live on mixlr.com, /Valencia College Radio, and look for the Intern Whisperer and follow us, and then live on Facebook.
All right. And as we close the show, we want to thank you for listening to the Intern Whisperer Live.